Good morning. Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Kelly Kinsman. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm your worship assistant today. I'm joined by our minister, the Reverend Sian Wiltshire, and our co-music directors, Steve Morihiro and Susan Shaw, and our director of religious education, Danielle Lewis. We all welcome you this morning. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. A bit of housekeeping. The bathrooms are situated in the building next door outside and to your left as you exit the building. If you run really fast, you won't get rained on. We are a community of many different identities and beliefs. We are bound together not by dogma, belief, or creed, but by a covenant to create a welcoming, inclusive, and loving community. We say, we need not think alike to love alike. In the spirit of building this community, let's recognize the many volunteers who have helped put this service together today. Roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. And Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. Good morning, Zoomers. As we worship today, let us acknowledge that our church property rests on the sacred ancestral homelands of the Ahashiman and Tongva peoples, who seek justice and responsible stewardship. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. Please join me as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to speak truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able, and join in singing our opening song.
Life is the greatest gift of all, the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
I'm willing to bet that most of you know this great American poet, Robert Frost, on The Road Not Taken. If you're like me, you learned this in junior high. So this morning, these are our opening words. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one travel along I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever be back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I think they said that a lot better than I did. Our Time for All Ages story this morning is one maybe of you remember, or maybe you don't. It's an Aesop fable, The Lion and the Mouse. So once upon a time, a mighty lion was sleeping in the shade of a tree because the day was warm and the breeze was soft and the lion was snoring gently. Nearby, a tiny mouse was scurrying through the grass looking for something tasty to nibble. She was so busy sniffing the air that she forgot to see where her little paws were taking her, and she bounded over the sleeping lion. Roar! The lion woke up with a start, shaking off the leaves off the tree. Who dares wake me from my nap? Mouse froze. Oh dear, oh, shimmer me whiskers. But before she could squeak another word, a golden paw came down and picked her up. The lion's teeth gleamed like little knives. Aha, he growled. Dinner has delivered it to me already today. The mouse sort of trembled. Please, mighty lion, I didn't mean to wake you. I was looking for crumbs, not trouble. Please let me go. I'm far too little to fill your stomach anyways. Well, the lion was pretty reasonably, raised one furry eyebrow, looked at the trembling creature. And her voice, it was tiny, but it was brave. So he said, okay, run along, little one. I'll spare you this time. The mouse's eyes just shone with gratitude. Oh, thank you, noble lion. I promise someday I'll help you too. The lion just laughed. Help me. That'll be the day. But go before I change my mind. So the mouse dashed off into the grass. A few days later, the forest was silent. And the lion, who was prowling for food, didn't notice that there were hidden ropes on the ground until suddenly, snap, he was caught up in the hunter's net. He struggled and roared with all his might. Roar! Oh, and his mighty voice echoed throughout the forest, calling for help. Far away, the little mouse perked up her ears. She was, oh, that sounds like the lion, that noble lion who let me go. Without a moment's hesitation, she scurried over toward the sound. And when she arrived, she saw that the lion was tangled in ropes. Don't worry, she said, I'll help you. It was like, you? This is no time for joking. But the mouse got to work, and she nibbled, and she gnawed. And chewing through the ropes with her sharp little teeth. And bit by bit, the ropes fell away. And finally, with one last bite, snap, the ropes broke, and the lion was free. Oh, he stood up, and he did a nice stretch. And then he bowed, looking down at the mouse. You saved my life. The mouse twitched her ears, her whiskers, really, really proudly. I told you I'd help someday. The lion smiled a big, warm, lion-sized smile, and he said, I will never forget it. And from that day on, the lion and the mouse were the bestest of friends. And everyone in the forest learned that no act of kindness, however small, is ever wasted. Thank you, and that is our story for today. I'd like to invite Danielle Lewis. She's our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth. She's going to light the children's chalice, and if the children would like to, they will follow her out as we sing them to their religious education classes. As you know, we're approaching Thanksgiving, a time of gratitude. So I found this wonderful reading. It's called Don't Count Your Blessings, Do This Instead by Ozan Varol. He wrote this. A few years ago, I bought a gratitude journal. Anybody here do that before? Buy a gratitude journal? Okay. That was around the time that gratitude lists were becoming quite popular, so I jumped on the bandwagon. I started every day by listing 3 things I'm grateful for. It would look something like this. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for our dogs. I'm grateful that I live in an amazing city. Things were off to a great start. Listing what I was grateful for brought a smile to my face each morning and helped me start the day on a positive note. But within a week, the effect began to taper off. The boost in my well-being decreased each day. I began to go through the motions of counting my blessings, but it had no noticeable impact on my life. The exercise had lost its meaning, so I abandoned it. Anybody else here abandon their gratitude journals? Yeah. I initially thought there must be something wrong with me. I can't even do gratitude right. I'm so ungrateful. But then I came across a study that made me think differently. Because it turns out I'm not alone. He continues, the research is mixed on whether expression of gratitude boosts happiness. At least 4 studies found that expressing gratitude for positive events had 0 effect on the participants' well-being. Does that mean we should give up on gratitude? Not so fast, he writes. The researchers in the study applied a contrarian approach to gratitude. Instead of asking participants to reflect on the presence of a positive event, I'm grateful I met my wife. In other words, they asked participants to undo positive events. They asked participants to reflect on its absence. What if I had never met my wife? So they asked participants to picture a counterfactual world where that positive event had never happened. And the results were striking. People who compared themselves to an alternative, worst-off version of their current self reported more positive states. Researchers call this the George Bailey effect, an homage to the classic movie It's a Wonderful Life. In the movie, Bailey is on the verge of committing suicide on Christmas Eve when a guardian angel arrives to rescue him. Rather than asking Bailey to count his blessings, the angel does the opposite. He takes Bailey on a tour of a counterfactual world, in a world in which Bailey hadn't been born. And this tour shows Bailey all the people he has touched, and makes him realize how precious his current life is. The cinematic insight captures a powerful psychological dynamic. Subtraction of positive events counteracts our tendency to take them for granted. He continues, I tried to create the George Bailey effect in my own life. For example, instead of expressing gratitude for my wife, I thought about all the ways we might never have met. If I hadn't been assigned to a particular floor on a particular dorm in college, I wouldn't have met my college best friend, Joe. And if I hadn't met Joe, his wife wouldn't have bought him a round-trip ticket as a birthday present to visit me in Chicago in 2011. And if Joe hadn't visited me, we wouldn't have gone out to see a really awful 90s cover band at a bar called Castaways. And if I hadn't gone to Castaways, I wouldn't have bumped into the woman who I would later marry. I next thought about all the ways my life would be dramatically worse if I hadn't met my wife. All the joys, the laughter, the companionship, the adventures I would have been denied. And this exercise made me realize in a far more powerful way than before how fortunate I am that life unfolded as it did. So this Thanksgiving, he encourages us, create the George Bailey effect in your life. Instead of counting your blessings, subtract them. The results may surprise you. So guess what we're going to do this morning for our meditation? I want to invite you into that time of meditation to take a few deep breaths. Center yourself. You can soften or close your eyes as you wish. I invite you to try the George Bailey effect. To think of someone maybe that you love. And what if you had never met them? I hope your hearts are filled with gratitude for those people. And when you're ready, I invite you to join Emily in singing our journeying song.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
The big question that I ask myself is, what if I hadn't been born a twin? And I try to picture it. Most of you know how close I am to my twin sister, Regan. I feel about all the loneliness I would have felt. We've been through so much together. We were moving around so much that we had to be each other's best friends. She's been so many things to me, my safety net, the person I turn to for support, and for being so fully and completely known and loved. And when I imagine my life without her, it's sort of like this physical blow that hits me. But with that punch kind of comes some gratitude. And gratitude not for her being perfect, because we bicker, as sisters do, right? And we even hurt each other occasionally. But just gratitude for her presence in my life. All the love and the laughter and the joy, the adventure and the support. And gratitude for that strange miracle, that one tiny shift in my mother's pregnancy could have meant a light without the person who has loved me the longest. But like counting our blessings, there's a sort of shadow side of the what if scenario. It's not always about subtracting blessings. Sometimes it's imagining a different version of our lives where maybe something painful never happened. So for example, my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was about 12. If she hadn't gotten sick, I wouldn't have had to work at 15 to help with the rent. I may not have felt so different from other kids in high school, kids who drove cars, we didn't even have a car, kids who didn't have to think about the cost of prom dresses or wonder if they could afford the yearbook. There's a version of my childhood where I fit in more easily, where I didn't have to choose my clothes by what was on sale, where I didn't have to work and got to have the fun of Friday night football games and Saturday sleepovers. But then again, if I hadn't started working so young, I wouldn't have been so resilient. I wouldn't have gathered so many resourceful skills, be able to problem solve under pressure. I wouldn't have entered adulthood with so much confidence about my own competence. And here's the part I can't ignore. My mother's illness meant I learned great skills that served me throughout my life. And did I miss things? Yes, I did. But I gained things too, things that shaped the person I've become. So the George Bailey effect reminds us that imagining a different past can help us feel gratitude, even for the things that once hurt or might be considered bad. Not because the pain was good or deserved. My mother didn't deserve to get MS, but because we survived it. We grew through it, and it shaped us in who we are. In fact, my path to ministry was also no different. It was a hard path. I left a high-paying job. I gave up my house, where success looked like a shiny, very shiny and respectable. My life was that way. And I left behind a version of myself who believed that power and titles and money were the things that mattered. And when those things fell away, I fell apart. There was a year when depression and anxiety sat on my chest like a heavy stone, a year of feeling foolish because my family judged and pitied me. Whatever happened to Sean? A year of not knowing whether the whisper I felt, this call that I was being called to something, was real or just wishful thinking. I can't regret any of it. I needed that year. I needed that breaking open. I needed that emptying out, the letting go of my ego, that loss of ego, to make room for a larger life. And while a part of me wishes I didn't have to go through all of that, I needed every step of that hard road to make me who I am. And I'm pretty happy with who I turned out to be. There's a favorite scene from one of my favorite fantasy book series. It's called The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Any other geeks in here know this one? Okay, Emily, excellent. Oh, yeah, okay. Y'all are missing out. This is a great series. There's a pivotal moment in it. And there's one of the protagonists is a guy named Dalinar. And he has become a great and wise leader, but he carries a past full of violence and cruelty. He regrets it. He has deep shame around it. And one of the antagonists is a kind of god and tempts him with the offer, I can take your pain. I can erase the shame. I can make you forget who you were. And in those final pivotal moments, Dalinar refuses. He says, actually, he shouts, you cannot have my pain! Because he knows it's the pain that made him wise, made him compassionate, that made him the leader that he is. Sometimes we have to go through these tough times to come out better. And sometimes the hardest chapters are the one that we most need, not because suffering is holy, but because growth sometimes hurts. And so the George Bailey effect is not simply about imagining the absence of a blessing. It's about recognizing that our own lives could have been completely different. And yet here we are, shaped by both the joy and the sorrow, the miracles and the mistakes. It's about being grateful, not just for the good, but for the becoming. So I want to invite you this morning. You had a chance to think about a blessing in your life and the absence of that. I'm going to invite you into another little short meditation. If you want to take another deep breath, get yourself settled again. I want you to consider, when you look back on a hard time in your life, maybe not one you're going through now. It's hard to find meaning of one you're going through now. When you look back on hard times in your life, can you feel grateful for what it taught you? When you look back on the hard times of your life, can you feel grateful for what it taught you, for where it brought you to this moment here, to this version of yourself? When you're ready, I invite you to join Emily in singing our journeying song once again.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Well, the George Bailey effect invites us to look backward and imagine the absences that shaped us. But the butterfly effect invites us to look forward and outward at the ways our small choices ripple far beyond us. Now, if you didn't know, in science, the butterfly effect is often described like this. A butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil might cause a tornado in Texas. You should know when this was first proposed, it was laughed at. Turns out it's actually possible. But in spiritual terms, it means every small action ripples outward in ways we cannot imagine. Every small action ripples out in ways we cannot imagine. Every kindness, every word, every silence, every decision, even the ones that feel insignificant, and maybe even especially those. Here's a little bit of a funny story for you. Seemed sort of insignificant maybe at the time to the writer. As I told you, I learned The Road Not Taken when I was in junior high. And I remember it was the first poem that I ever read that actually made sense to me about choosing a different path than the one that was most traveled, about making choices, not looking back with regret. It was about that individualism. And it made me think, what choices will I make? The ones that everyone expects or the ones that are more adventurous? What about the ones that will make me happy? It was the first time I really started asking myself those questions, as only poetry can get you to do. At that time, I really thought poetry was just a bunch of obscure rhymes that had to be looked at with a microscope to be understood. We need to do better teaching in our high schools, I think, sometimes. But it turns out, I found out I was this year's old this week. I learned from Steve. I'm going to blame Steve on this. Okay? That this poem was written as a joke. Believe it or not. So Steve told me that Frost had a very dear friend named Edward Thomas, okay, who was an influential writing critic and writer and poet himself. They had become the closest of friends and would often take long walks together. But Thomas was very indecisive. and often regretted not taking another direction as they kind of meandered through the woods. He was always like, well, we should have gone the other day. We would have found something a little bit more interesting. So the way I read the poem was the way that I was taught in junior high earlier. But what if I read the poem a bit more like this? Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And being one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then I took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both the morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. I'll keep it for another day, and yet knowing how way leads to way, I doubted if I'd ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and it made all the difference. Is that sigh a sigh of regret? Made all the difference? Was the difference good? He didn't think the poem was that funny, just so you know. And Frost was like, yeah, I read it to a bunch of students and they all thought I was like so wise. I'm like, I was a joke. But at any rate. Yeah, it's kind of amazing though that this poem is the one that made Robert Frost famous, right? It is the great American poem that almost every student learns. And it was a joke to a friend to tease him. Well, here's a little bit more of a serious example. Andy Andrews is an author and storyteller, and he tells a tale about Norman Borlaug, okay? He is a scientist and 1963 Nobel Prize winner credited with hybridizing wheat and corn to be grown in arid regions around the world. And according to some estimates, he saved the lives of 2 billion people and counting. But history is never as simple as it looks, right? It sounds like a story of some sort of heroic figure. But Andrews points out that Borlaug didn't create the research station in Mexico where these experiments began. Instead, that was Henry Wallace, then Secretary of Agriculture and later Vice President under Roosevelt. He was the one who had the vision for it. He hired Borlaug. And so maybe Wallace is really the one who saved 2 billion lives. But then Andrews goes deeper, because before Henry Wallace ever dreamed of agricultural transformation, he was a 6-year-old boy who loved to take walks with a man named Washington Carver. And Carver, the great scientist, teacher, and inventor, would bend down to little Henry and say things like, "See this plant? It has power. It can feed the world someday." And these walks planted seeds in Henry Wallace, seeds that later bloomed into global change. But Andrews doesn't stop there with the story, because he says, okay, so George's mother, Mary Washington, was born a slave and was bought by a man named Moses Carver. Carver was an abolitionist, but he still had, like many, still had some slaves. And when raiders who knew he was anti-slavery came to his farm and carried off Mary and her little baby George, Carver went to great lengths to rescue baby George, who was half dead, from the hands of the raiders, and raised him in his home, sending him to school where he studied agriculture and science. So do we owe this to Moses Carver? So which one of them saved 2 billion lives? Well, all of them. And countless unnamed others whose choices shaped their lives. Every one of them, a butterfly, creating a tornado of hope for billions. And some of them never even knew the impact that they had. And that's the spiritual heart of the butterfly effect. We are not self-made, we are story-woven. We are not self-made, we are story-woven. Each of us is a result of countless individual connections, choices, chances, kindnesses, and sacrifices, most of which we will never know about. And the same is true is that we have on others, the impact we have on others. Most of us will never know how our presence changes someone's life. And yet, these ripples are real. They move through the world whether we see them or not, whether we intend them or not even. What tiny turns of chance, of choice, of courage, or compassion brought you here, to this life, even to this community, to this church, to this version of yourself? You know, our Unitarian Universalist tradition and our shared values tell us that we live in interdependence, right? An interdependent web of all existence. And I think we sometimes forget just how literal that is. How every act of kindness has compassion or has consequences. Every harm has consequences. Every moment of courage, every moment of silence, every generosity, every smile, every apology, every risk. The butterfly effect isn't just physics. Like the George Bailey effect, it is a spiritual truth. And not all the butterfly effects in our lives were pleasant. Some were caused by choices that we regret. Some were caused by traumas we didn't deserve. Some were caused by detours we never wanted. And yet here we are, still growing, still becoming. Gratitude then is not about pretending everything is or was good. It's not about glossing over the hard things. Gratitude is really about perspective. It's about acknowledging that even the difficult chapters have shaped us in ways that matter. So let yourself feel gratitude not only for what is good, but for what has become good within you. For what has become good within you. Gratitude is not what life spared you, but for what life has shaped you into. Because we may never see all the effects of our actions. We may never know how our small gestures change someone's life. We may never know the power of the moments we thought were insignificant, but they mattered. They still matter. They matter more than we will ever know. We are the sum of thousands, if not millions, of fluttering butterfly wings. May we live with gratitude not only for our blessings, but for the astonishing web of moments, people, pains, and possibilities that made us who we are. May we trust that our lives, ordinary as they seem, ripple outward in ways we cannot even imagine. And may we live, as maybe George Bailey did at the end, with eyes open to the deep and holy truth that each of us matters, and the world would not be the same without us. Thank you, Bella. Please join Steve as we sing our returning hymn.
Life is the greatest gift of all the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mine is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
Thank you. Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting through their own contributions. Members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies the spirit of generosity by sharing half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are partnering with Second Harvest Food Bank, appropriately. Second Harvest is a large regional food bank providing food for all who need it and concentrating their focus on the most vulnerable populations. Let's start our own butterfly effect here. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're in the room, you can use the basket as it's passed. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
Please join in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share. We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
All right. Well, now is that time this morning when we honor the important events and people in our lives, and you're invited, one and all, members, friends, visitors, everybody, to participate in this weekly ritual we call Joys and Sorrows. I'd like to invite Don Martin up here to help light candles. He's one of our pastoral care team members, and he'll be assisting you. So the idea is that if you've come here today holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days or weeks or even hours, something that struck you at your core, if you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you're invited to do so. If you're a roomer, That's y'all in here, okay? You can basically come forward and light your candle. If you want to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it on a slip of paper, and the ushers have also them that you can write it on. And then as you come forward to light your candle, simply hand me your joy and sorrow, and then I'll read them out loud. And Zoomers, hello Zoomers. So of course you can write yours in the chat, and then once we're done reading the ones here in the room, I'll read yours out loud, and Dawn will then light a candle for you. So as music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. Please come forward. We've got a few more coming. Feel free to keep coming forward with them, even if I start talking, no problem. All right, I'm going to go ahead and begin, but please feel free to come up and add any more in. So Simone B., she lit a candle of gratitude. She says, my 3 grandchildren visited me from Portland last week. My son was on a business trip, and my 4-year-old grandson enjoyed Disneyland for the first time, and their flights were okay, which is good. And Jeffrey, our wonderful Jeffrey over here, lit a candle of joy because he said, my cancer diagnosis has taught me to take advantage of life's opportunities. And we're so grateful that you're here. Carrie lit a candle of gratitude also. She said, the person who has been the most challenging for me, who also taught me to be truly present. And Alejandro, he lit a candle of gratitude as well for this week's rain and its calming effect and its gentle reminder to repose. Isn't that true? Emily S. lit a candle of joy for that one night in November 1999. I got on my dial-up AOL, you remember that? And had an argument with a stranger online, as only a ninth grader can. Without it, I'd never have met the boy who became my partner in life, love, and everything. Thanks, Sean. I love it. That is awesome. Oh. Light lit a candle of sorrow. He said, my husband is no longer suffering or in pain. He is in heaven now, and I'm happy for him. And an anonymous person said, she lit a candle of sorrow. I have become isolated from everyone in my life, including family. Not a single person knows my inner world. I take accountability for the choices that have led me here, but it's still painful. Deep breaths, sending love. Donald M., he lit a candle of hope for better health because his wife Sandra will have hip replacement surgery on the 18th. Please keep her in your hearts and thoughts. And Elizabeth K., she would like some healing vibes. She says, please send healing vibes for a favorable result. She said, I had 8 biopsies from my arm on Tuesday. Precancerous. Oh my. And Aaron and Amelia, and they lit a candle of hope. They say that their cousin Lois, who is in the hospital with serious heart failure, may her condition be stabilized so she can enjoy her remaining days. Amen. Dawn, would you please light a candle for Margie H.? A candle of sorrow. She said, my longtime dear friend Nancy passed away Friday. Many happy memories of our times together. And Linda C., she would like a candle of joy and sorrow. She said, our dear friend George Dorsey, died last week at the age of 96 after a lifetime dedicated to others in so many ways, including his decades-long membership in All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in New York City. The joy is having known and loved him for over 40 years. Sarah H. would like a candle lit. She said, It's a Wonderful Life was Rob, her husband's favorite movie. He had since passed away. She says, thank you for a wonderful sermon. And Manny wants to reach out and say, isolation is a terrible burden. I will pray. Let's take a deep breath and let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations, all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. I'd like to invite you to join Dawn in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
Spirit of life, mystery that weaves our lives together, we pause in gratitude for this moment, shaped by so many unseen turns. Help us remember the George Bailey moments, the people and choices without whom our lives would be completely different. Even hard times have carved wisdom into us and brought us to this place. Help us also remember the butterfly moments, the small acts, brief encounters, and quiet kindnesses that ripple outward far beyond our knowing. Remind us that we do what matters, even when no one sees. May we live with humility for all that shaped us, and with courage, knowing our smallest offerings can bring more compassion into the world. May it be so.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice. Until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. If you're a guest or a visitor who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you would like to know more about our church, we invite you to stay for coffee and stop by the welcome table in the courtyard, or contact us at one of these email addresses, and we will help you get connected. Zoomers are welcome to stay online after the service and chat, and we want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community.
Announcements, all sorts of fun things going on in the church. This is a great different ways that you can connect here at this church. All sorts of fun things going on. I want to point out a few special things in particular. One is, which is particularly if you're feeling alone around Thanksgiving, come on down here from 2 to 5. We're going to have a potluck. Sign up. You can sign up in the courtyard here. It is potluck, but if you can't bring something, don't worry about it. We're going to provide the turkey, and everybody's bringing their favorite dishes that are there. So please do go ahead and sign up for that if you haven't already. If you didn't know, today is World Remembrance Day for traffic safety, remembering traffic victims. And if you want to join me, I'm going to be down at City Hall at 2 o'clock today giving another sermon around all of that. So at any rate, you're welcome to join me. They're going to do a bike ride afterwards. I will not be biking. I will be going home to crash. But anyway, that's a bad metaphor, isn't it? Yeah. I need to not do that. All right. Just hits me. Okay. Let's see here. And then the other really big thing that you need to know if you haven't been noticing in your blast is that next Saturday, wonderful Femia is going to be giving us a sound bath here in this wonderful sanctuary. You can, basically, they want to know how many people are going, so if you can, just reach out to soundbath@ocuc.org. You can email me, you can email Femia if you know her. You can even just tell her, hey, Femia, I'm doing it today, okay? I'm going to do it. All right, so I'm going to be there 4 o'clock to 5:30. They're actually going to do it, that's going to start right when the sun sets. So it should be just an absolutely lovely, relaxing, beautiful time. So come on out for that. You can sit in a chair. If you like, you can actually bring also an extra mat or a blanket to lie on the floor. Obviously, there are chairs, comfortable clothing. Feel free to bring an eye mask, even a blanket you could snuggle in if you like. So, at any rate, arrive at 4 p.m. to set up your space and enjoy a very peaceful start to the evening with some lovely tea out in the courtyard. Don't worry, it's out in the courtyard, for those of you who worry about tea and coffee here. All right. I think that's it for announcements. Those are the big ones at any rate. But it should be an absolutely lovely time. Please come on out for that if you would like. So, all right. Well, may your smallest flap of kindness create good tornadoes out in the world. Let us sing our recessional song.
Let us go out. Let us all do our part. Let us go out. Bring joy to the crowd. Let us go out. With indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out. And all do our part. Let us go out. Bring joy to the crowd. Let us go out. With indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with
This service is over. Let our service out in the world continue.